Welcome back to this week's episode of the People Success Circle podcast. I'm thrilled to have a guest with me this week. Her name is Michelle Edelen, and Michelle is known as the Excellence Engineer. She is a TEDx speaker and keynote speaker, and I'm so excited to welcome you, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Mindy. I'm always glad to get time with you, and I love your podcast and what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think my listeners are going to really enjoy learning about what your expertise is when it comes to being a confident person and speaking up and knowing just how to show up authentically. So I'm really excited about that. Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about your background and what led you to where you are today as a speaker?
So my background is a little varied in terms of my career. I started in manufacturing leadership with a team of approximately 1,200 indirect and direct reports, and
Wow.
multiple shifts and several manufacturing lines and all the good things, fresh out of B school, 24 years old, and I'm leading all of that. I had to learn quickly, and needless to say, there wasn't a whole lot of training available, so
Right?
I had to figure it out. And have just kind of grown from there. I've always been intrigued by compliance. I know for some
Mm-hmm.
people that's a little nerdy, but I love it. Reading 2 CFR 200 is a real page turner. But I also found a real passion for leading teams and helping people have the career that they wanted to have. There are those who were perfectly content to stay where they are and just be really, really good at that. But there were also
Yeah.
those who wanted to grow and become more, do more. And I enjoy working with both groups of people, helping you to grow or helping you to be the best right where you are.
You talk a lot about waking up your inner excellence. Tell about that. And can you share a moment when this has been really true to you?
We have excellence inside of us. It's your abilities, gifts, skills, talent, knowledge, like all those things that are inside you. And I had that moment where although I knew I had it, but life had gotten on top of it. And I had to have that aha moment for myself that, Michelle, even though life has really given you a gut punch, you still have all of the goods on the inside. You just got to
Yeah.
figure out how to get down to them, wake them up, and then do something with it. That moment for me was when I got laid off. I thought I had done all the right things. I had the right degree, undergrad, bachelor, master's. I had, the right career path. I took all of the steps. I had the right network. I had a mentor. I
Hmm.
had a coach. I had a sponsor. Like I checked all the boxes.
All the boxes.
And I got laid off with everybody else who felt like they should or should not have been laid off because it was just a numbers thing. And I had to figure out, okay, how do I get back to my good stuff that's on the inside of me and
Hmm.
then use it to grow myself again?
Hmm.
And it was a pivotal moment for me from a career perspective, but also just from a life perspective, because I
Right.
realized how much of who I was wrapped up in who I was in my career. And that's when I realized, you know what, Michelle, you're Michelle Edelen, the excellence engineer, no matter what.
Right. Right. I can tell you, I relate to that in a big way. As an HR leader, I always know who's going to be laid off, and I'm usually the one planning the layoffs.
Yeah.
And one day I got the call, and I have a whole podcast episode about it, to be honest, because it really shook me to my core. And honestly, it was great experience for me to be on the other side too. To be the HR leader who has to unfortunately facilitate them, but then to know how that feels was that was huge for me, and I can see why that would be very transformative.
Yes.
What things did you do to help you get back on track to know your inner excellence?
I really dug down into myself and did that inside work. And I know you hear
Mhm.
people say that, and it's almost become a little cliche
Yeah.
now, but you really have to do the inside work. You have to realize that you are a whole person outside of, and this is for Michelle, outside of my husband, my children, my grandchildren, whom I adore.
Mhm.
my career, all of the things. I truly am a person and I've got the things that I need to make me be the best version of me. And when I'm looking to the person on each side of me, I'm not being the best version of me. I'm comparing myself to what I think I see. When we stop comparing ourselves to what we think we see, and hear me clearly, what you think
Mhm.
you see, because you don't really see the true person,
Mhm.
then you finally realize, "Oh, wow, I do have the goods on the inside. I
I
do
do.
have what I need. I just have to figure out how to put it together, how to use it." And that's why in my signature keynote, Activate Your Inner Excellence, I talk about taking all of your life experiences, the sum total of your life experiences, and using those to grow you. They're not a series of mistakes. They're not a series of bad decisions and failures and all those words we use to describe them. It's not that. They're just your life experiences, and you can use them to grow to where you need and want to be and become the person that you want to be.
I'll tell you, Michelle, you and I are a similar age group, and, I feel like I'm understanding that more
Yes.
in my mid-50s
Yes.
than I have ever understood that, and it's so interesting to me that I now am really finally coming into that when gosh, I wish I would have learned some of that lesson earlier. So, Michelle, can you tell us about your passion for speaking and your passion for helping others learn how to speak up with confidence? Where did that start?
It started with me at a very young age. I was about 6 or 7, and I was a brownie scout. Does everybody remember that? I don't even really know if that's exactly a thing, like it used to be, but
Not as much as it used to be, because I don't think back then we didn't have as many choices, so everyone was a brownie, and now I feel like
exactly.
there's a million things that girls can
Yeah.
do, which is great, which
It
is
is,
awesome.
it's great. Choose what works
Mhm.
for you, but I was a brownie scout, and, we had our big cookie drive, we had sold all these cookies, and the cadets who were, like, the seniors in high school, junior seniors in high school, they got to go on the trip to the Daisy Low House. Well, the brownies, we felt like we should go to the Daisy Low House too. Now, I don't know who we thought we were that somebody's gonna take us out of the state of North Carolina at 6, 7 years old. But they voted me to go tell the troop leaders. So I get my whole little story together and I go and I'm like, "We think we should go to the trip as well." And I'm like looking up at her and
Mhm.
I'm sure she was looking down at me like, "Who does this kid
Who does
think
this little
she is?"
girl think she is? Yeah.
But that's really one of the first times that I remember advocating for myself and my friends, and I
Mhm.
liked it. It's the first time I remember really commanding the attention and the room,
Okay.
and it helped me to see that I had something to say.
Mhm.
Now, of course,
Mhm.
I was always a kid that was talking all the time, like, I didn't just start talking now.
Did you also have on your report card a check mark by avoids unnecessary talking? And I was always like, a plus or a check? I was like, "Oh, no, that's always
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I was the
yeah.
talker, and the teacher would move me up to her desk. "I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk to you." Like,
Yeah.
this isn't gonna stop me from talking, it just changes who I talk to.
Yes.
So, I
Yes.
knew then that I was a speaker. Now, of course, at 6, you don't really know what to do with that and,
Right.
that kinda thing, but fortunately, my parents were amazing, and they helped me to channel that. So I spoke in church a lot and
Oh,
got
that's
other
so good.
opportunities to lead in
Mhm.
church organizations and that kinda thing, things in the neighborhood, and it just grew into literally, it grew into what you see now from way back then. I remember it back then.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That's such a great story. And did you get to go to the Daisy House?
Okay, we got like a 1973 era Chuck E. Cheese type.
Okay. Okay. Well, you got something, but not quite what you asked for. You still were good to speak up, though.
It was fun, and it
Mhm.
it opened a door for me that
Yeah.
I didn't really know was there, and it never closed. Even as I've had other things happen in life, because we all
Mhm.
have things that happen in life.
Yeah.
I the door for speaking never closed, and the door for helping others speak never closed. So I was always that one that if somebody had to speak, "Well, come on, let's practice." And I would say, "Well, no, don't say this, say that, or say it this way. Or when you say whatever, do this with your hand." Like I was
Mhm.
always that person.
Always the coach. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I can see how that formed you into who you are now in helping TEDx speakers and helping women
Yes,
speakers in general. It's great.
yes. I love it. I really do. It's my happy place. And I love seeing people grow into the speaker that they wanna be.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. And I learned so much from you too. So, in your experience of helping others, like, really switching gears to the workplace, I want to talk to you about helping people speak confidently at work.
Yes.
So, my expertise is the HR side, and I feel like as a trainer, I've had some influence on this. But I want to get your thoughts on like what are the common reasons that you think people are scared to speak up and use their voice in the workplace?
One of the biggest deterrents I've encountered in the workplace is the culture. If the culture is not open and welcoming, then people will not put themselves out there. So let's take the 2 of us, for example. Our personalities are such that we're gonna speak up no matter what. We are going to fill the room no matter what, but
Mhm.
everybody doesn't have a personality like ours.
Mhm. Thankfully, right?
Yeah,
Thankfully.
you don't want a room full of Mindys and Michelles
No.
because somebody has gotta, rein all of that
Balance
in.
us out, right? Well, sometimes the wisest advice in the room is the quietest person in the room.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what I encountered on many occasions. You know, you have the meeting and you brainstorm, you're working out strategies and solutions. Meeting ends, go to the restroom, and someone says, "Hey, Michelle, is that you?" Well, in the meeting, I was thinking, but I didn't want to say, but what I was thinking, and then they dropped like literally a bombshell. And you're like, "Why didn't you we don't need this in the bathroom. We need it over there in the boardroom. Come on." So you get out of the restroom and you run and gather everybody again to have the post meeting to the meeting where the idea that you needed was already sitting there, but the person wasn't comfortable sharing it. So when I was leading teams, I tried to always create an environment where people felt comfortable sharing, where there was no retribution for sharing or not sharing. There was no bad question, bad idea, any of those
Mhm.
things. Now, I've worked in environments where there was absolute punishment for speaking up or speaking out of turn or you were ridiculed or criticized if you had a bad idea. I mean, I'm 60 years old now. Entered the workforce at 24 as a professional. you know, Things have changed a lot since the
They
'80s and
have.
'90s when I was coming in, but we still have those pockets
Mhm.
where there are those leaders who are not putting people in the best position for success. I'll say it that way, as it relates to communication and speaking up.
Mhm. I totally remember that, like what you're saying, in the early 90s, right out of college, I remember being in a meeting and having somebody next to me, like, kind of push on my leg and be like, "Stop talking, stop talking." And I was like, I didn't know that I just honestly would never have assumed that I shouldn't have shared an idea. And afterwards, I did learn that that wasn't really the culture of that team yet, and it did change over time. But I can see what you're saying because it has changed a lot over the years.
It
It
has.
really has. And man, when you just gave that analogy of someone coming up to you after a meeting and sharing an
Yes.
idea, that's such a
Yes.
clue to us as leaders, right? If
It
someone
should
comes up
be.
to us afterwards, right, and says, "Oh, I was thinking this," that should be such a clue to us as
Mhm.
leaders,
Mhm.
right? To pause and be like, "Okay, what kept you from saying that in the group setting?" And I think that is a really good litmus test. I love that.
It really is, and then you can have that one-on-one conversation, and if they say, "Well, you know what? I'm just not comfortable speaking up." then the way I addressed that was, well, when we do your one-on-ones each week, because I would have a one-on-one time with each of my staff every single week. And if they didn't need it, they would say, "Hey, Michelle, I don't need it this week." Or if they did, we would meet. But I would say, okay, let's you and I role play and see if we can get you comfortable speaking up. Now, as a leader, did that take a lot of time? Was my calendar always full and I was still trying to do all the things that I had to do? Yes. But was it worth it to see these people grow and eventually get promotions,
Yeah.
eventually move to other agencies when I was in
Mhm.
the public sector, move to other companies even or other divisions within our company when I was in the private sector? That was so rewarding to me to watch them grow in that way.
Absolutely, and taking the time to role play before the meeting
Mhm. Yeah.
is huge, and it really is a great source of development.
Yes.
So you talk about 4 key strategies: faith, leverage, opportunity, and wisdom. Can you
Yes.
briefly walk us through that as it relates to building someone's confidence?
For sure. I love this model. And the faith, that is a confidence in yourself, having faith in you. I am amazed at the people that I encounter who minimize themselves and use diminishing language even as speaking of themselves. I'm a beginner. Well, nobody would know you were a beginner if you never told them.
Right?
So, you don't have to walk in with beginner across your forehead. Kinda thing. So having faith in yourself, having confidence, being confident in who you are, that goes back to all of the inner excellence that you have, abilities, gifts, skills, knowledge, talent. You've got it all in there. And then there's the leverage. We have to leverage what we have. The
Mhm.
abilities that Michelle has may be different than the abilities that Mindy has. But they're both good and they're both necessary and beneficial and can be used to grow us and to make us into who we need to be. So we have to leverage the things that we have. And then for the opportunities, we have to leverage those opportunities as well. Sometimes people let opportunities kind of fall by the wayside and or they allow fear to keep them from seizing the good opportunities. One of the things that I share in my TED talk is that I can hear my parents in my ear even now saying, "Michelle, seize the good opportunities. Seize the good opportunities." And when we do that, then we are grabbing hold of what has come our way and we're
Mhm.
mixing it with all of our abilities, gifts, skills, knowledge, talents, all of our inner excellence, and we're using it. And once you put all of that together, your confidence in yourself, leveraging everything that you have, every opportunity that comes your way, then those life experiences that we talked about, that's your wisdom. And you put all of that together and you have this beautiful recipe for success, this beautiful recipe for excellence, not perfection. Chasing perfection is what has caused so many people to
Mhm.
just throw in the towel or throw up their hands in exasperation. But when you are seeking after excellence, then you get to define what excellence is. And your excellence may look very different from mine. Mindy, you and I are speakers. We're workshop facilitators. We're coaches. For some people, the speaking is at the PTA meeting.
Yes, which is still hard and still admirable and still important, right?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. Do you know how important the fall bazaar is for the PTA? You're
I
making your money
do.
for the
I
whole
do.
year. I've been there. I've felt
Yes,
the pressure. It's big. But it's important, and we have to make sure that when we are helping people to speak and to communicate and to be confident and to take their whole sum of life experiences, your whole body of work, and put it all together, it's about being excellent. It's about making you be the most excellent version of you, not perfection, because the definition of
yes,
perfection changes all the time. All the time,
yes, yes.
you know?
Well, and it's interesting. I love these 4 key strategies because, as you know, I'm building something called networking school. And
Yes.
the model that I'm working on is not the same by any means, but it really resonates with me how you said have faith in yourself first, because we
Yes,
can't go out there
you
and do
can't.
things if we don't know who we are and what we do best and what we're known for, what we want to be
Right,
known for.
right.
And then, gosh, you were right about leveraging opportunities. Sometimes we see an opportunity as on the calendar and we're like, oh, I could go to that. I could do that. I could volunteer for that committee, but we miss the chance. And who knows what the interaction on those things could do for your business or your career if you actually leverage the opportunities that come your way.
Exactly.
Gosh, when you were saying that, part of networking is speaking up. And so just, hearing you say those strategies really, really resonates. So, how can leaders and managers create an environment where team members feel safe and encouraged to share their thoughts?
First thing I'll say is remember when you were in an environment that was unsafe and
Mm,
how you felt.
mhm.
It's really easy for people to forget.
Yeah.
And it's really easy for people to, act as if, oh, it's always been this way. Well, that's not true. That just isn't true. So remember when you were unsafe and how you felt and what you would have wanted, and then create that. Create that. If no one is saying that they feel a little unsafe or they don't feel comfortable speaking up, still assume that there's somebody who doesn't feel comfortable speaking up. Because in a group of people, you're gonna have somebody who is like, I don't know, I don't know. Let me kind of fade back. The is it the Bart Simpson meme where he fades back into the bushes? We
Yes.
have
Yeah, all the
people
way into the
Yeah,
bushes. Yes.
we have people do that from a corporate perspective all the time. Still
Yes.
sitting right there, but they've faded back. They've tried to make themselves as invisible and small as they can, and you wanna create an environment that pulls them back up to the
Yes.
table, where they are an equal part of the team, and they know that they are, and they feel comfortable acting
Mhm.
as such.
Yes, that visual is in my head now, Michelle. Yes, I totally see it. I totally see it. Well, you talked earlier about, like, some of the people who you worked with, and then you've seen them grow within the agency you worked at or within their career, even going to another company. What advice do you have for someone who maybe is scared to speak up at work but yet wants to grow their career? What would you tell them, and just a few tips on how to find their voice?
Think one of the first things I would encourage you to do is to find a mentor. Mentors have helped me over the years. So find you a mentor who can offline help you work through this. Help you kind of navigate the corporate, whether it's well, I shouldn't say corporate, the public or the private sector space,
Yes.
the
Mhm.
organizational space.
The workspace, whether it's a restaurant or, it doesn't matter what it is. When we were going through Mic Drop, I was saying, like, gosh, it could be a restaurant manager who has to lead her team meeting today. It could be anyone who needs to
Exactly.
find their voice at work in any industry, at any level, any income level as well.
Exactly. It's not just, for people quote unquote at the top.
Yes.
You Everybody, no matter where you are in the organization, had something to bring to the table. So I had this one young lady that I worked with. Well, let me back up. Now I offer a signature workshop, which is speak your excellence. So signature workshop, speak your excellence. And
Mhm.
it is really aimed at team alignment. So not
Okay.
just for the leader, not just for the team, but for team alignment. Because quite often, and as an HR professional, I know you see this all the time. We communicate and we think we're communicating just like this.
Yes.
When in actuality, we're communicating like this. And then somebody produces a product or delivers a product, somebody receives a product, and everybody's looking at it like, well, what is this? How did we get Why did you give me this? Well, that's what you asked for. Well, no, that's not what I asked for. Well, surely that's what you asked for. Well, you see, but before doing the team alignment workshops that I do now, I used to work, the companies would bring me in to work with individuals, like individuals on the team, each individual on the team and each leader. And I had this one young lady, and she wanted to be the admin to the CEO.
Okay.
You like it, I love it. I think
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm working
Very
with
important
her,
job.
and as I'm continuing to work with her, I'm like listening to the things that she's saying, and and to end her coaching program, she was gonna have to make a presentation to leadership. And the things that she was saying that she wanted to present and she wanted to share, she wanted to say, she wanted to do, I'm looking at her and I'm saying this to myself. I didn't say this to her initially. I'm like, this woman is absolutely brilliant.
Mm.
And not that you can't be brilliant and be admin to CEO. I'm not saying that. Executive assistant to CEO. I'm not saying that at all. But what she was saying and what she was pulling together to present as an idea was something that would have come from, say, the director of DEI.
Wow.
And I let her, pull together, helped her with it and everything. And when she presented it, somebody in the room, one of the leaders in the room said, "Oh my goodness, we should have." And at that point, I just was like, it was like the heavens opened up. We should have a director of DEI who, implements and creates these programs and implements and goes, it's going on and on and on.
Gosh.
And I leaned over and I said, "You have a director of DEI." And she's sitting right there. And at that moment, literally, it was like a aha moment for the whole room, even the young lady I had been working with. And she said, just never saw myself that way.
Wow.
And she is now director of well-being and some belonging and well-being, I think is her title.
Yeah.
And we still get together on a regular basis. But when it's time for us to get together, I have to ask her, "Hey, are you in the country?" "No, I'm in Germany, but I'll be back in 2 weeks, and when I get back, let's get
Wow.
together, let's, meet, blah, blah, blah." So sometimes not only does leadership not see it in you, you don't
Mhm.
see it in you.
That's true.
And it takes having a mentor to help you see you.
Yeah, and what that potential is. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
and it's there. We all have
Mhm. Yes. Yeah.
really have all of the excellence inside you that you need. We keep chasing after things. So I got to get this certification and this degree, and I've got to make sure that I'm connected to this group of people in this organization, and I'm not saying that any of that is wrong or bad because I have all those things too. But at some point, we just are acquiring stuff and not using any of it. So stop with the acquiring and start using, start implementing, executing with what you have. And you'll begin to see total change in your organization.
Mhm. There's so much talent. So many times when, I
Yes.
lead succession planning for an organization, we go deep dive and talk about every person, and it never fails that we have ahas, like, "I had no idea that person wanted to do that. I had no idea she was skilled
Right.
in that," or,
Right.
"He had that, I didn't know," and so, gosh, having that chance to speak up and tell people what you're good at and what you wanna do and it really increases the chances of you getting that goal. So, Michelle, for our listeners who might still be doubting themselves and doubting their inner excellence, what is some advice that you would give them to really start reflecting on who they are and what they bring to the table in order to achieve more in their career?
Always ask my coaching clients to think about what they've done, think about what they've accomplished, and then how they accomplished it. And even for myself, I have sold myself short on so many things because I don't just take the time to even jot down real quick that I led a team of over 1,000 indirects.
That's huge.
Never, but it was just what I did. And that's what a lot of people do. It's like, "Well, Michelle, it's just what I did." But that is major. And it took a lot for you to be able to do the things that you've done. So begin to take an inventory of who you are, what you've done, what you have, what skills you have, what knowledge you have, all of those things. And think about all of it, not just in the workspace, but even in your volunteer space.
Yeah.
Have you volunteered for your child's to be the cheer mom or to be the Pop Warner football team mom? You gotta have a whole strategy for that. But I think sometimes we minimize those things because
Mhm.
it was volunteer or, "Oh, it was just for my son's football team," or, "Oh, it was just for my daughter's, dance team." It's not just anything.
It's
You
not.
had to have skills to do that. You had to
Mhm.
have organizational skills. You had to be able to delegate. You had to lead a team. You had to figure out how to get all of these parents with competing agendas because everybody wants their child to be the child. So all the parents with competing agendas to come together and work together so that you had all of the fruit and the water for halftime, right? So it's not a minor thing. It's not just doing something. Those really are skills that you are developing and you're building them with a team.
Yes, I talk so much about transferable skills with people too. Like we tend to minimize what we've done, maybe because we didn't have the title, or maybe because we just
Yes,
thought that it wasn't that big of a deal. But gosh, even caring for your elderly parents is has transferable skills. Being a stay-at-home mom has transferable skills.
for sure.
There are so many skills that people have and things that they've done that really give them the, I guess, permission, to toot their horn and talk about themselves in a way that
Absolutely.
helps them achieve more.
For sure, for sure. You mentioned caring for a elderly parent. If you've been able to navigate Medicare and Medicaid,
Mhm.
Social Security,
Mhm.
and the myriad of doctor's
And the
appointments,
pharmacy.
you you CEO level. You may not get paid for it, but you are navigating complex systems, right? And these are all things that on job descriptions, negotiation skills, you're networking because some of what you're gonna be able to get from mom is because you've gone into the doctor's office and you've spent time talking to the receptionist. You spent time building a relationship with the nurse and
Yes.
all those
Yeah.
things. Well, that's transferable. That's not
Yeah,
just, "I just took care of my mom and dad."
for
It's
sure.
not that at all.
It's not, and as a special needs mom and a mom of medically complex children, I don't take care of my elderly parents yet, but I definitely have those skills from being a special needs mom, so I see that in a special needs parent. I will tell you, my husband does the same amount that I do when it comes to it.
Well, I'm sure. I'm sure you have to. I mean, you have to. If you're a parent and you've been able to get your kids up, dressed, fed, and to a location, whatever it is, school, daycare, camp, by about 8, 8:30ish, you have done more than most people do in a day.
Yeah. There's so much to it, and just helping people to see what value they bring and
Right,
what their experience is and how important that is. I think it really is, like you said, the first step to being able to be confident and speak up in a work situation or in a PTA or volunteer situation
right.
because you're acknowledging and really doing that inner introspection
Mhm,
first
mhm.
to see what value you bring.
Right. And then the second thing I would say is this, remove from your vocabulary that you and your mindset that you are, well, I'm doing the best I can.
Mhm.
I'm just hanging in there. I'm just trying because that's all diminishing language and diminishing mindset.
Mhm.
You walk in like you have just run the United States of America. If you've gotten your kids to a destination and everybody had on shoes and clothes and nobody was injured. I mean, we laugh, but walk in and own who you are and what you have accomplished, what you've done. I only have this or I only did that. No, walk in and own who you
Mhm.
are and what you have accomplished and
Mhm.
know that I accomplished this. Wow, okay. I can do this. I can add this to it. I can do this too. And eventually you will find your confidence growing, that faith that I talk about in my four-step model, you'll find it growing, and not to the point of being arrogant and bragging and ego where people don't wanna see
Right.
you coming, but
Right.
you'll find it growing, and the next time you have an opportunity that you can seize, it won't be so
Mhm.
hard. because
Mhm.
you've done something before. You see yourself doing it and doing more, doing better. So the
Mhm.
next opportunity that comes your way, it's a little easier for you to grab it and run with it.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been so helpful. And I've loved your stories and also just the experience that you bring. So I just want to wrap up and thank you for sharing your time and your wisdom with us today. Just thank you, Michelle. It's been great to have you.
Thank you very much, Mindy.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the People Success Circle podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review so others know that this episode is one to listen to. I also want to encourage you to look at the show notes. You can get information there about how to connect with Michelle Edelen and learn more about her business. Lastly, if you would like to sign up for the waitlist for networking school, please see the show notes because there is a link there and you don't want to miss the founding rate. Until next time, have a great week and I'll see you in the next episode.